Good day, grade 11. We are still doing word problems here. So this is the question that we have here. It says Ndombi travels 360 kilometers from her home to church. She only returns after dark and her average speed on the return journey is 10 kilometers per hour less. It took her 30 minutes longer to travel back. Determine her average speed on the journey to the church. Right? So we have this scenario, guys. Remember, in this scenario, we're given the speed and the time and also the distance. So remember that formula that you did in grade 10, grade 11. So that you have here the distance, we have time, we have speed. So we know that the distance, we cover this part, the distance is equal to time times speed, which is measured, the time is measured in seconds or hours. So, but in this case, we see that the time is measured in hours because they are saying that it's 10 kilometers per hour. So it's going to be, the speed is measured in what? In meters, it's measured in kilometers per hour if we are looking for the speed. But the time, the distance is going to be measured in kilometers. Yes, so which means it's time times s for distance. And then for time, it's going to be d over s for speed. And then for speed, is going to be d over t, which means the speed is going to be measured in kilometers per hour, or the kilometers over an hour. So let's try to apply the scenario that we have for Ndombi here. Can we see that, guys? We don't know the original speed for Ndombi to travel from home to church or from church to home. So if we can make it the practical work here, so let's say this is church. I'm going to write capital letter C. Now this is home. I'm going to write capital letter H. So we can know that, guys, the distance taken from home to church is going to be the same as distance from church to home. I hope that we are together. Then we don't know, but they are talking us that they say less is 10 kilometers less. Remember, if I can say, guys, here, maybe a number, let's say a number 3 less than x. To write this, if I say a number 3 less than x, if I say a number 3 less than x, so this one can be written as x minus 3 because less we have to subtract from the original. So in this case, guys, we don't know her original speed, so I'm going to tell the marker that let her original speed be any variable holder, good people. It can be x, it can be y, it can be m. So I'm going to set it to be x. Then in order for me to make this thing look easy for us, I'm going to make the table here. That will make things easy for both of us. Okay, so remember, guys, what do we have here? I'm going to use these the information that we have. Remember, we know that Ndombi travels to church, then back home. That's what we know. At least we love it when she travels to home and back to church, and then she goes back to home, which means that she's a good girl. So then we have the distance here. Then we have the what? The speed. And then obvious, we have the time, because she took the distance. Remember, the distance from home to church will be the same as the distance from church to home. And we were told that Ndombi travels 360 kilometers from her home to church. So all in all, the distance from church to home is 360. So we have 360 here, that we have 360 kilometers, and also we have 360 kilometers. Then the speed from home to church, we don't know, so but we can let the speed, we already assigned the speed to be x, so this is the original speed, which is x here, because there was no delay when she was traveling from home to church. But when she was traveling from church to home, they are saying that her average speed on the return journey is 10 kilometers per hour less. So remember, the speed is measured in kilometers per hour. So then we have to subtract this 10 kilometers from the original speed. So I'm going to have x here minus 10. Right, hope that we're together. Then we need time. Remember, for this information that we have, the time taken from home to church, we're going to use this information. Remember, the time is the distance over the speed. So I'm going to say 360 divided by x. So I'm going to have here 360 over x. Then the distance, the time taken from church back home is going to be 360 divided by x minus 10. So it's going to be 360, good people, over x minus 10. I hope that you can see. But we have another problem here, because we are given that it took her 30 minutes longer to travel back. So remember, when Ntombi was traveling back home, it took her 30 minutes longer. So remember, we don't work with minutes here, we work with hours. So I really have to convert these minutes to hours. We know that 1 hour is made of 60 minutes. So what I'm going to do here, guys, I'm going to tell the marker that time taken to travel back home. Let's see what we have. We know that, guys, we have 30 minutes here. I have to convert this 30 minutes to hours. Why? Because we're given that the speed is measured in kilometers per hour. So if it was saying that kilometers per second, so I was going to convert the minutes to seconds. So then we multiply by 1 hour over 60 minutes. So guys, can you see that this minute will cancel this minute? So now we are left with what? We have 1 here. So we are left with what? With 30 times 1 hour, we got 30 hour over 1 times 60, we get 60, which is equivalent. We know that 30 divided by 60 is the same as 1 over 2 hour. So that's the time that Ntombi, she took longer when she was returning back home. Remember, we have to set the equation here, because we know that whatever took Ntombi from church to home must be equals to when she was traveling back from church to home. So the time taken from back home was 360 over x minus 10. That's the time taken when she was traveling back home, right? Must be equal to the time taken when she was traveling from home to church, which is 360 over x, right? But we know that we are told that here, we were told that, guys, it took her 30 minutes longer to travel back. So remember, this time, guys, here, she was traveling to church. This time, she was traveling back home. So now, it took her longer when she was traveling back home. Remember here, he was going back. Now, the time taken to go back home was longer. So now I have to add here 1 over 2, the minutes that it took Ntombi. This is the minutes it took. Remember, Ntombi took 30 minutes longer to travel back home. So then we have this equation here. So I need to find the LCD here. So I'm going to say LCD. So the LCD is going to be x minus 10 times x times 2. Right. So that's our LCD here. So then if I multiply this LCD here, I'm going to be left with what? With 360. This x minus 10 is going to cancel out. Then I'm going to be x and the 2 equals to, if I take this one and multiply again here, this x is going to cancel this x. Now I'm going to be left with 360 into x minus 10 and the 2. So if I take this thing and multiply with here, I'm going to be left with 1 and x minus 10 and the x. Right, I hope that we're together, guys. All right, so now we have 2 times x is 2x. Then we say 2 times 360. What do we get? We get 720x here. 720x equals to, then remember we have 2 times 360 here. I'm going to multiply the constant first. 2 times 360 we get 720. Then 720 times x we get 720x again. Then 720 times 10, it's going to be a big number, 7,200. So we're going to have minus 7,200. Right, then we're done with this one. Remember, this is 1, good people. Anything multiplied by 1 remains the same. So I'm going to say x times x, we're going to get x squared. Then x times minus 10, we get minus 10x. Right, so now what will happen, guys, here with this one and this one? So this one is going to cancel out. We know that. If I transpose, then we're going to be left with 0. Then we have x squared minus 10x minus 7,200. Now, guys, it's a matter of factorizing here. But if you don't know the factors grade 11, you can go straight to quadratic formula and try to solve it. Right, let's see what do we have now. So if I factorize here, the factors of okay, I won't delay myself, that we know that our a here is 1, then our b is equal to negative 10, then our c is equal to negative 7,200. So I'm going to say x is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So it's just, we need to substitute, guys. So I'm going to say x is equal to negative, then our b is negative 10 plus or minus square root here. So we have our b negative 10 squared minus 4 into 1. Your c is negative 7,200. Then we all divided by 2 into our a, which is 1. So then here we drop again this x, then we have this one, negative and negative, then we get positive plus or minus square root. Remember, you can simplify what you have under the square root here. So if I press this is 10 squared minus 4 into 1 and then negative 7,200, we get this is the big number, 28,900. so this is 28,900, so all over 2. Now it's a matter of using your calculator, guys. You can press your calculator, and then if we press 10 plus root the answer, then we have 2, then what do we get? We get 90 as our first answer, or x, then we put minus, okay, we have 10 minus root what was it, 28,900 over 2, we get negative 8. We know that, guys, the speed will never be negative, so we have to reject this one. So therefore x is equals to 90 degrees. Oh, it's not 90 degrees, sorry. It's not 90, so x is equal to 90. But we need to make a conclusion, good people, because we cannot leave our answer for here, because this one not applicable, this one. So let's make the conclusion now. So then I'm going to conclude that therefore her speed on the journey to church is 90 kilometers per hour. Right, so I hope that we are together, guys. Remember, the tricky part here is to set up the equation. Remember, the time that took Ntombi from church back home was 360 x minus 10. Then the time taken from home to church was this one, but there was a little bit delay. It took Ntombi longer to travel back. There was a little delay when she was there at church, so that's why we have 360 over x minus 10 equal to 360 over x plus the time that took Ntombi when she was there at church, which is 1 over 2 hours. Then we have to set up the standard equation. So that was the first question that we have here, which was easy. Let's do the last question that we have here and see how do we attempt it. Remember, you can pause the video and try to attempt at this question on your own. Let's see what we have here. They are saying, guys, Mr. Menzi calculates that if his speed increases by 10 kilometers per hour, he will take 48 minutes less to complete a journey of 240 kilometers. Calculate his original speed. So guys, we don't know his original speed, so we have to assign first. But still here, we are going to apply the same technique that we use when calculating for Ntombi. So remember, we know that, guys, from grade 10, that we have distance, and then we have S, we have time. That's what we know from grade 10. So before we calculate anything, we don't know his original speed. I'm going to say let his original speed, because this is Mr. now, it's not Miss, because Ntombi, we assume that Ntombi, she's a female. So original speed, let his original speed be x. So which means if Mr. Means increases, which means when we say increase, you add. So I'm going to say and the increased speed b. Remember, the original speed is x, so now Mr. Means increased his original speed by 10, so it's going to be x plus 10. So that's the first scenario that we have, right? So the time taken by Mr. Means to complete the journey at the original speed, we have to find it. So if I say the time taken by Mr. Means to complete journey at original speed, so B, remember the original speed, guys, is 240 kilometers. The distance, so the distance covered is 240 kilometers, so the original speed was x. So if I'm looking for the time taken, the time is going to be distance over the speed, so which means our t in this case is going to be 240 over x. Understand? Then definitely the time taken to complete the speed at increased speed, so which means I'm going to say increased speed So I'm looking for time. So the increased speed for time is simple. It's going to be t equals to 240 over this increased speed, which is x plus 10. Right. Remember, we have this thing there was talking to us. He will take 48 minutes less. Remember, this is less, guys. This is less to complete a journey. So we need to convert these minutes to what? To hours, because we see that it's kilometers per hour. So the difference of in time. So I'm going to say the time here. So the time, it's 48 minutes. So we know that how to convert this one, guys. So I'm going to say times by 1 hour over 60 minutes. So this will cancel out. So now we can know that if I press on my calculator, that 48 divided by 60, we get 4 over 5. So we have 4 over 5 hours. Right. Guys, we know that this thing saying, let's read again the question based on this scenario that we took the words into mathematical statement. So they're saying that Mr. Menzi calculates that if his speed increases by 10 kilometers, he will take 48 minutes less to complete a journey of 240 kilometers. Calculate his original speed. So remember that Mr. Menzi, there's a difference between that Mr. Menzi he is doing here. So if Mr. Menzi he is traveling with the original speed, and if he increased the speed, what will happen? So if he increased the speed, he assumed that he will take 48 minutes less. So then if I'm setting the equation here, I need to find out the difference when he was traveling with original speed and when he increased the speed. So I'm going to say here, we know that this is the original speed. I'm going to say this is 240 over x. Then I subtract, and then when the time when he increased the speed, which is here. So I want to see the difference in time when he increased the speed and when he was traveling with original speed. So this is the time. So which is 240 over x plus 10 equals to the time that he will take if he increased the speed is 4 over 5. Let me repeat this, guys. Mr. Menzi took the time 240 kilometers over x when he was traveling with original speed. But when he increased the speed, it took him 240 over x plus 10. So he assumed that if he increased his speed by 10, he's going to take 48 minutes. So hence, I want to find the difference between the original speed, the original time, and the time when he was traveling with, when he increased the speed by 10. Hope that it makes sense. So I have to find the LCD here. So we know that here the LCD is going to be x into x plus 10 and a 5. So if I take this and multiply here, guys, with this first fraction, I'm going to have 240 into x plus 10 and a 5, because this x will cancel this x, minus 240. Then if I take this one and multiply here, the x plus 10 is going to cancel out. Now I'm going to be left with what? With the x and a 5 equals to, if I take this one and multiply here, the 5 is going to cancel out. Now I'm going to be left with 4x and the x plus 10. So now we know that 240 plus 5, 240 times 5, what do we get? 240 times 5, we get 1200 times x. So this is the same 1200x. Then say 1200 times 10, we get a big number, 12,000. So this is positive 12,000 minus Then remember guys, 240 times 5, it was 1.2, 1200. So 1200 times x, we're going to get here 1200x. Right, I hope that it makes sense. So equals to, then we have 4x here. Then I'm going to say 4x times x, we get 4x squared. Then I say 4x times 10, then we get plus 40x. Right, what will happen with 1200? So 1200x minus 1200x, so these guys, they are going to cancel out. So now we are left with what? 12,000. Then we transpose 12,000 to that side, then we are going to be left with 0 equal to 4x squared plus 40x. This one, if I transpose, the sign is going to change to become minus 12,000. Now we have 4 guys. I can simplify by dividing by 4. I can reduce this by dividing by 4. So 4, this cancel out. Now we have 0. We have x squared plus then 40 divided by 4. What do we get? We get 10x minus then 12,000 divided by 4. We get minus 3,000. Right. So I don't want to waste my time and think about these guys. All I have to do here, I have to go straight to the formula that we have. X is equal to minus b plus or minus square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So it's x is equals to negative. So can you see your b here is 10, positive 10, plus or minus square root here. So your b is positive 10 again, minus 4. Your a, it's 1. Your c is minus 3,000. Okay, extend this one over 2 into 1. So we need to find the solutions here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to press my calculator guys as it is. So I will get x1. So if we press, we have this. I hope that you can see. Let's substitute. I don't have enough space guys. My table is too small. So I have this negative into 10 plus 10 squared minus 4 into 1 minus 3,000 over 2 into 1. So we have x is equal to 50 or x minus 60. Right guys, does it make sense to have a negative speed? No, it does not make sense. So we can conclude that this one not applicable. So therefore our x is equals to 50. I love this degrees. This 50. Remember, this is not the final answer guys. We need to make the conclusion, the right conclusion. Then I will conclude. Remember, the question was saying calculate his original speed. So now the question was saying calculate his original speed. So now I can conclude that therefore his original speed is 50 kilometers per hour. That's the final answer for Mr. Menzi. So guys, please thanks for watching. If you didn't subscribe, please don't forget to subscribe. Like the video, share the video with your friends. I know that this is very useful, so tell us how do you feel about our lessons. This is very useful for doing word problems. Remember, you are going to use these word problems when you are doing also grade 12. You are going to see more examples on the next video when you are doing about the money, when you are using the profit. So that's when you are going to use it on when you're doing calculus next year. So guys, if you didn't subscribe, please don't forget to subscribe. Tell us how do you feel about our lesson. Thank you very much.